The Velkari inspector arrived exactly 24 hours later. His name was Zenvala, and he was everything humans expected from the galaxy's oldest race. Tall, thin, with silver skin that seemed to glow slightly in the light. His eyes were completely black and showed no emotion at all. Jiwoo stood with Commander Han and Ambassador Hyun Ki Choi in the meeting room. Ambassador Choi was an older man who had spent 20 years dealing with aliens. He looked calm, but Jiwoo could see sweat on his forehead. "We detected an unusual energy signature from your moon facility," Zenvala said. His voice was cold and mechanical. "You will explain what you were doing." Ambassador Choi smiled politely. "It was a fusion reactor test. We are working on more efficient power generation. Surely the Velkari understand the importance of such research." Zenvala did not blink. "The energy pattern does not match fusion reactions. It matches theoretical models of quantum field manipulation, the kind of manipulation that is forbidden." Jiwoo felt her stomach drop. He knew. Of course he knew. The Velkari had technology humans could barely understand. A simple lie would not fool them. "We are not doing anything dangerous," Commander Han said firmly. "Whatever we are researching is our business. Earth is a sovereign planet." Zenvala turned his black eyes on the commander. "Sovereignty does not include the right to destroy yourselves and others. 3 civilizations have tried to create artificial warp fields. All 3 no longer exist. Their homeworlds are surrounded by permanent tiers in space. We banned this research to protect all life in the galaxy. Or to protect your monopoly on space travel." Commander Han shot back. Ambassador Choi looked like he wanted to disappear. Zenvala stared at Commander Han for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out without another word. When the door closed, Ambassador Choi turned to Commander Han. "Are you trying to start a war? The Velkari could shut down every wormhole leading to Earth. We would be isolated. Which is exactly why we need our own way to travel," Commander Han said. "As long as we depend on them, we will always be under their control." The next day, the Galactic Council issued a formal demand. Earth must stop all quantum field research immediately. Inspectors would be sent to monitor compliance. Any violation would result in sanctions. Jiwoo sat in an emergency meeting with Earth's top leaders. The president looked tired. Military commanders argued about options. Scientists debated the risks. Everyone was scared. "We should comply," said the president's chief advisor. "We cannot afford to anger the Velkari. They have ships that could destroy our entire fleet." "We should pretend to comply," said a general. "Hide the research. Keep working in secret." Commander Han stood up. He placed a data chip on the table. "This contains classified intelligence," he said. 3,000 years ago, Velkari scientists were working on the same thing we are. They were close to a breakthrough. Then suddenly all research stopped. The official reason was that it was too dangerous. But our intelligence suggests something different. The scientists who came closest to success disappeared. Their research was destroyed. The Velkari leadership decided that if they could not control this technology, no one should have it. The room went silent. Everyone stared at the data chip. "Are you saying they suppressed their own discovery?" the president asked slowly. "Yes. Because if anyone could travel freely without wormholes, the Velkari would lose their power. They control the wormhole network. They charge fees. They decide who can go where. That power is worth more than any technology." Jiwoo found her voice. "So the stories about civilizations destroying themselves were lies?" "Not lies, but not the whole truth either. Those civilizations used brute force methods. They tried to tear through space instead of working with it. Our approach is different. Dr. Park's theory uses natural quantum fluctuations. We are not fighting physics. We are using physics in a new way." The president looked at Jiwoo. She felt the weight of his stare. "Can you really make this work, Dr. Park?" Jiwoo thought about lying, thought about being cautious, but she remembered the moment when their test succeeded, the moment when space itself bent to their will. "Yes," she said firmly, "we can make it work." "Then we continue," the president said. "But we do it smart. Officially we comply. We shut down the moon facility. We let the Velkari inspect it. But the real research moves somewhere they will not look. That was how Jiwoo found herself on a small ship heading toward the asteroid belt. The new facility would be inside a hollowed-out asteroid, hidden among thousands of mining operations. The Velkari would not think to look there. With her was her team, Subin Lee, who had already started working on more complex equations. Da-eun Kim, a brilliant engineer who specialized in containing dangerous energy. Young Ho-yoon, a computer genius who could program artificial intelligence systems that thought faster than any human. And of course, Commander Han, who would not let her face this alone. The new facility took 6 months to build. It was larger than the Moon Lab, with better equipment. Money kept flowing in from corporations and governments who saw the potential. If humans could break free from alien control, the economic benefits would be enormous. They built a small prototype drive, not big enough for a ship, but large enough to test properly. Jiwoo and Da-eun worked 18-hour days designing containment systems. The energies involved were incredible. One mistake could destroy the entire asteroid. Young Ho programmed an artificial intelligence to handle the calculations. Human brains were too slow to adjust the quantum fields in real time. The AI would need to predict fluctuations and correct them instantly. Subin discovered something amazing. The quantum fluctuations they were using were not random. They followed patterns. Deep patterns in the structure of space itself. She started mapping these patterns, creating charts that showed the quantum terrain of space. "It is like the universe has rivers," she explained to Jiwoo one day. "Rivers of quantum energy flowing through space. If we can navigate these rivers, travel becomes much easier." 18 months after they started, they were ready for a real test. They built a small probe the size of a car and attached their prototype drive. The target was simple: jump from their asteroid to another asteroid 3 light minutes away. The entire team gathered in the control room. Jiwoo initiated the sequence. The drive powered up. Energy readings climbed. Then, in an instant, the probe vanished. 3 seconds later, a signal came in from the target asteroid. The probe was there. It had traveled 3 light minutes in 0 time. Not almost 0. Actually 0. They had done it again. But this time it was bigger, stronger, more controlled. This time they knew they could scale it up to a full ship. Commander Han was grinning like a boy. Da-eun was crying with joy. Young Ho's AI was already processing the data and suggesting improvements. Subin just stood there with a small smile, like she had known it would work all along. Jiwoo looked at her team. "We build a ship," she said. "A real ship that can carry people, and then we show the galaxy what humans can do." But as the team celebrated, none of them saw the message that arrived at Velkari headquarters. A spy on Earth had reported unusual activity in the asteroid belt. The Velkari were suspicious. They were watching. And they would not let humans succeed without a fight. The ship was called Daedalus. It was small, just big enough for 2 people and the quantum full drive. Commander Han had insisted on being the test pilot. Jiwoo had argued for days, but Han would not change his mind. "I have been flying for 20 years, he said calmly. "I know how to handle problems in space. And if something goes wrong, I would rather it happen to me than someone else." The plan was simple. They would wait for a solar storm. During the storm, the sun would throw out so much energy that it would overwhelm Velkari sensors. In that window, Daedalus would make a jump from Luna to Mars orbit. If everything worked, they would prove the drive could move a real ship with a living person inside. Jiwoo could not sleep the night before the test. She kept checking the calculations. Subin had gone over the math 100 times. Da-eun had tested every safety system. Young Ho had programmed the AI with multiple backup protocols. Everything should work. But should and would were different things. The solar storm arrived on schedule. Earth's satellites went into protective mode. Communication systems switched to backup channels. And in the chaos of electromagnetic noise, Daedalus launched from the moon. Jiwoo watched from the control room. Commander Han's voice came through the speakers. "All systems green. Quantum drive charging. Field stability at 98%. Da-eun monitored the containment fields. Magnetic bottles holding steady. "You are good to go, Commander." Young Ho checked his screens. AI is ready. Navigation locked on Mars orbit coordinates. Jiwoo took a deep breath. Commander Han, you are cleared for quantum fold. Good luck. See you on the other side, Han said. There was a smile in his voice. The drive activated. Every screen in the control room lit up with data. For one heartbeat, Daedalus was in two places at once. Then it was gone from Luna. The screen showed nothing, just empty space where the ship had been. Jiwoo held her breath. Seconds felt like hours. Come on, she whispered. Come on. Then Han's voice came through, strong and clear. Daedalus to control. Jump successful. I'm in Mars orbit. Repeat, I am in Mars orbit. The drive works. We did it. The control room erupted in celebration. People were hugging, crying, shouting. Taeyun grabbed Jiwoo and spun her around. Subin was laughing and could not stop. Even Young-ho, usually so serious, was grinning and shaking people's hands. They had done it. A human had traveled faster than light without a wormhole. The impossible was now real, but their celebration was short. An hour later, the solar storm began to fade, and as the electromagnetic noise cleared, Valkyrie sensors detected something they could not ignore. An energy signature unlike anything natural, an energy signature that came from human space. Ambassador Choi received the message first. The Galactic Council demanded an immediate emergency session. Earth was summoned to explain what had happened. There was no more room for lies or delays. 3 days later, Jiwoo, Commander Han, Subin, and Ambassador Choi stood in the Galactic Council chamber on Velcra Prime. It was the most impressive building Jiwoo had ever seen. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into darkness. The walls showed images of 10,000 years of galactic history. And around them sat representatives of 47 different species, all watching the humans with expressions ranging from curiosity to anger. At the center sat High Theorist Zenvala. His silver face showed no emotion, but his black eyes were fixed on the humans with an intensity that made Jiwoo's skin crawl. Humanity, Zenvala said, his voice echoing through the chamber. You were ordered to stop quantum field research. You agreed to comply. Yet 3 days ago, we detected a massive quantum distortion in your solar system. You will explain this violation? Ambassador Choi stepped forward. He looked small and old in this vast room, but his voice was steady. We cannot deny what happened, he said. We have developed a quantum fold drive. We tested it successfully. We believe this technology is safe and will benefit all species. The chamber exploded with voices. Some species shouted in anger. Others called for immediate sanctions. A few remained silent, watching carefully. Zenvala raised one long hand for silence. Safe? You claim this technology is safe? Let me show you what happens when primitive species play with forces they do not understand. The walls lit up with images. 3 planets appeared. Each one was surrounded by swirling, distorted space, the kind of distortion that made Jiwoo's eyes hurt just to look at. These were the homeworlds of the Karth, the Vex and the Solon, Zenvala continued. All 3 species tried to create artificial faster-than-light drives. All 3 failed catastrophically. The tears in space around their worlds are permanent. Nothing can live there now. Millions died. Entire civilizations extinct. This is why we banned this research. Jiwoo felt sick looking at the images, but something bothered her. Something about the distortions looked wrong. She stepped forward. High Theorist, may I speak? Zenvala looked surprised that she dared to interrupt. You may speak, Dr. Park. Those distortions, Jiwoo said, pointing at the images. They show evidence of brute force quantum tearing. Those species tried to rip through space. Our method is completely different. We use natural quantum fluctuations. We work with the structure of space, not against it. Subin moved to stand beside Jiwoo. The young mathematician looked terrified but spoke clearly. I have analyzed the data from our test, Subin said. Our fold did not damage space. In fact, it reinforced the quantum structure. The fluctuations we use are natural. They exist everywhere. We are simply directing them. Zenvala's eyes narrowed. You claim Valkyrie physics is wrong? Not wrong, Jiwoo said quickly. Incomplete. You studied this problem from one direction. We approached it from another. We found something you missed. The chamber erupted again. Some representatives were shocked at human boldness. Others seemed intrigued. A few were clearly angry. Commander Han spoke next. His military bearing made him look calm and confident. I piloted the test flight, he said. I experienced quantum fold travel. I can tell you it is stable. The ship did not shake. The systems did not fail. It was smoother than most wormhole transits I have made. We are not reckless children playing with fire. We are serious scientists and engineers who have solved a problem. For hours, the debate raged. Some species supported the Velkari. Others quietly admitted they were interested in human technology. Ambassador Choi used every diplomatic skill he had, making deals and promises, building support. Finally, after what felt like forever, the council voted. The result was a compromise. Humanity could continue their research, but they had to prove the technology was safe. They would conduct 5 test flights, each one longer than the last. Every test would be monitored by council observers. If any test showed signs of space damage, all research would stop permanently. Jiwoo looked at her team. This was not the victory they wanted, but it was a chance to prove they were right. A chance to show the galaxy that sometimes the impossible just needed a different approach. Ambassador Choi accepted the terms. Earth agrees. We will conduct the test program under full council observation. We will prove our technology is safe. As they left the chamber, Commander Han put a hand on Jiwoo's shoulder. Now the real work begins, he said. We do not just need to make it work. We need to make it work perfectly 5 times in a row while the entire galaxy watches. Jiwoo nodded. Then we better get started. 6 months after the successful test program, Jiwoo stood in the same Earth Science Council chamber where she had been rejected years before. But everything was different now. The chamber was packed with people. News cameras lined the walls, and sitting in the front row were representatives from 23 different alien species, all waiting to hear what she had to say. The chairman who had mocked her was gone. In his place was a new council, one that respected what she had achieved. They asked her to explain the quantum fold drive to the galaxy, to teach others what humanity had learned. The key is understanding that space is not empty, Jiwoo began. It is filled with quantum fluctuations, natural energy patterns that exist everywhere. Most species tried to fight these patterns. We learned to work with them. That is why our drive succeeds where others failed. She showed the map Subin had created, charts of the quantum currents flowing through space, rivers of energy that could carry ships across vast distances. It was a completely new way of seeing the universe. After her presentation, representatives lined up to speak with her. Some wanted to license the technology. Others offered partnerships. A few just wanted to understand how humans had seen what their own scientists missed. Ambassador Choi was busier than ever. He negotiated agreements with species large and small. Earth was no longer a junior member of the Galactic Council. Now they had something everyone wanted. Now they had power, but not everyone was happy. The Velkari Empire faced a crisis. For 10,000 years they had controlled galactic travel. They owned the wormhole network. They charged fees. They decided who could go where. Now that monopoly was breaking, wormholes were still useful, but they were no longer the only option. Ships with quantum fold drives could go anywhere. They were not limited to fixed transit points. The economic impact was enormous. Some Velkari wanted to fight this change, but others, younger voices within their civilization, argued differently. They said their species had grown complacent, that refusing to adapt would only make things worse. A Velkari scientist named Talvex contacted Jiwoo privately. He was young by Velkari standards, only 300 years old. He had reviewed her research and found it brilliant. We were wrong to suppress this, he admitted. Our leaders feared change more than they valued truth. But some of us want to learn. Will you teach us? Jiwoo agreed. Soon, Velkari scientists were working alongside human researchers, the galaxy's oldest species learning from its youngest. It was a strange reversal, but it worked. Subin led an international project to map the quantum structure of the entire galaxy. Scientists from 40 different species joined the effort. It became the largest scientific collaboration in history, and what they discovered was amazing. The quantum currents created natural highways through space. Travel times that took weeks through wormholes could be reduced to hours using quantum fold drives on the right paths. Regions that were unreachable became accessible. The galaxy seemed to grow larger and smaller at the same time. Dayun's containment systems became standard across the galaxy. Her design was so good that other species adopted it without changes. She won the Council's highest engineering award. She was only 33 years old. Young Ho's artificial intelligence architecture revolutionized navigation. His neural networks could predict quantum fluctuations with incredible accuracy. Ships using his AI had almost no navigation errors. Every major shipbuilder in the galaxy wanted to license his designs. The Galactic Council offered Jiwoo the position of chief theoretical physicist for the entire galaxy. It was the highest scientific position that existed. She would have authority over research across 47 species, but Jiwoo surprised everyone by refusing. "I am a researcher," she explained. "I want to keep doing hands-on work. I want to keep making discoveries. Give that position to someone who loves administration. I will stay at Luna Research Facility and keep pushing the boundaries." The council respected her choice. Instead, they gave her funding. Huge amounts of funding. Luna Research Facility expanded into a center of excellence. Scientists from across the galaxy came to study there. It became known as the place where impossible things became possible. Commander Han and Captain Song led the first major expedition using quantum fold technology. They commanded a fleet of ships heading to the galactic core. This region was too dangerous for wormholes. The gravity was too intense, the radiation too strong, but quantum fold drives could reach it. What they found there shocked everyone. Evidence of a precursor civilization that had existed millions of years ago. Ancient ruins showing technology far more advanced than anything the current galaxy had. And among the ruins, they found records. The precursor species had developed quantum fold technology. They had mapped the quantum currents just as humans were doing now. They had achieved incredible things. But then they had vanished. The records did not explain why. This discovery raised new questions. What happened to the precursors? Where did they go? And most importantly, could the same thing happen to current civilizations? But these questions were for the future. For now, the galaxy celebrated a new era, an era of exploration and discovery, an era where the impossible had become reality. At a ceremony on Earth, leaders from across the galaxy gathered. They dedicated a monument to human achievement. It showed Prometheus in flight with stars streaking past it. At the base were the names of everyone who had worked on the Quantum Fold project. Jiwoo was asked to speak. She stood before thousands of people and countless cameras broadcasting across the galaxy. She felt nervous but also proud. "Many people ask me how we succeeded," she said. "How did humans see what older, wiser species missed?" The answer is simple. We were new. We were not bound by 10,000 years of assumptions. We asked questions that others had stopped asking. We looked where others had stopped looking. She paused and looked out at the crowd. But this is not just a human achievement. It is a lesson for all of us. Every civilization has the potential to see what others have missed. The key is maintaining curiosity. The key is welcoming fresh perspectives. The key is never accepting that something is impossible just because it has always been that way. The crowd applauded. Representatives from species that had initially opposed humanity now stood and clapped. Even the Velkari delegation, led by young Talvex, showed respect. After the ceremony, Jiwoo met with her team one last time before they scattered to different projects. Subin was heading to the Galactic Rim to continue mapping. Dayun was consulting with shipbuilders on 5 different worlds. Youngho was establishing an AI research center that would train programmers from a dozen species. Commander Han and Captain Song were preparing for another expedition, this time to explore uncharted regions beyond the galactic plane. "We did good work," Commander Han said, raising a glass. "We changed the galaxy." "We proved the impossible was possible," Subin added quietly. "And we did it together," Jiwoo said. "That is what I will remember most. Not the technology, not the fame, but the fact that we worked as a team and achieved something amazing." Months later, Jiwoo stood in the observation deck at Luna Research Facility. Through the window, she could see ships launching from Earth, dozens of them heading out into the galaxy. Ships from many different species, all of them equipped with quantum fold drives. Some were cargo ships taking trade goods to distant markets. Some were passenger ships carrying people to new colonies. Some were research vessels, heading out to explore regions that were previously impossible to reach. And among them was a new ship, the Explorer. It was huge, the largest quantum fold vessel ever built. It carried a crew of 200 people and aliens, scientists, engineers, diplomats, all working together. They were heading beyond the galactic rim, into the vast empty space between galaxies. Jiwoo watched the Explorer disappear into the darkness. She felt a mix of emotions, pride at what they had accomplished, excitement about what would be discovered next, and a deep satisfaction that came from knowing she had changed the universe in a meaningful way. Her tablet beeped. A message from Subin. They had detected unusual quantum patterns in a region near the galactic core, patterns that did not match anything in their current models. They needed Jiwoo to take a look. Jiwoo smiled. There was always another mystery, always another question to answer, always another impossible thing waiting to become possible. She pulled up the data and began to analyze it. Behind her, Earth hung in space, blue and beautiful, and all around, in every direction, ships traveled freely through the galaxy, using technology that the wise and ancient species had claimed was impossible. But humanity had never been good at accepting the word impossible. They preferred to ask a different question, not whether something could be done, but how, and that question had changed everything. The new ship was named Prometheus. It was bigger than Daedalus, built to carry a crew of 5 and designed to withstand longer jumps. The command deck had stations for the pilot, engineer, navigator, and 2 scientists. Everything was state-of-the-art, the best Earth could build. Captain Mireille Song stood on the bridge and ran her hands over the controls. She was a veteran commander with 15 years of experience. Calm, professional, and respected by everyone who worked with her, she had been chosen to lead the test program because both humans and aliens trusted her judgment. "Ship is ready," she said to the assembled crew. "Let us make history." The first test was simple. Jump from Earth to the edge of the solar system and back, 50 light minutes each way. The entire galaxy watched through council monitoring stations. Every instrument, every sensor, every camera was focused on Prometheus. Jiwoo was aboard as chief scientist. Dayun monitored the containment systems. Young-ho sat at the navigation console, his AI running final checks. Commander Han and Subin watched from Earth control, ready to analyze every piece of data. "Quantum drive charging," Dayun reported. "All systems nominal." "Navigation locked," Young-ho said. "AI confirms optimal fold path." Captain Song looked at Jiwoo. "Ready, Doctor?" Jiwoo nodded. "Ready, Captain." Initiating quantum fold in 3, 2, 1, engage, space folded. For an instant, that was no time at all. Prometheus existed in a quantum state between locations. Then they were at the edge of the solar system, exactly where they intended to be. The return jump was equally perfect. Council observers found no anomalies, no damage to space, nothing to support Valkyrie warnings. But Zenvala argued the distance was too short to prove anything. Test 2 was more ambitious. 2 light-years to Proxima Centauri and back. This was further than any wormhole could reach. If it worked, it would prove quantum fold drives could go places wormholes could not. The outbound jump was flawless. Prometheus appeared in orbit around Proxima Centauri, exactly on target. But on the return jump, something went wrong. Alarms blared on the bridge. "Detecting quantum fluctuation," Young-ho called out. "AI is compensating, but the readings are unusual." Jiwoo checked her instruments. "It is not the drive. The fluctuation is external, something in space itself." They completed the jump safely, but Valkyrie observers immediately claimed the fluctuation proved their concerns. Jiwoo and Daun spent hours analyzing the data before they found the answer. The fluctuation came from faulty calibration in the Valkyrie monitoring equipment, not from Prometheus. When they presented their findings, Zenvala was forced to admit the error. But the incident made tensions worse. The Valkyrie observers became more hostile, questioning every reading, demanding extra checks on everything. Test 3 was the real challenge. 20 light-years to a remote stellar nursery where new stars were forming. This was deep space, far from any civilization. And halfway through the jump, they encountered something no one expected. The ship lurched. Warning lights flashed across every console. Captain Song gripped her controls as Prometheus shook violently. "What is happening?" she demanded. "Quantum storm," Jiwoo said, her eyes wide as she read the data. "Natural quantum turbulence. I have never seen anything like this in the literature." "Can we survive it?" Captain Song asked. "AI is adapting," Young-ho said, his fingers flying across his console, rerouting through calmer quantum currents. "Hold on." Dayun fought to keep the containment field stable. The energies involved were enormous. One failure and the ship would tear itself apart. Captain Song made split-second decisions, adjusting the ship's attitude, following Young-ho's navigation, trusting her crew. For 30 seconds that felt like hours, Prometheus fought through the quantum storm. Then they were through. The storm was behind them. They had completed the jump, Every system was intact. Every crew member was safe. Back on Earth, Subin immediately began analyzing the storm data. What she found was extraordinary. The storms were not random. They occurred at regular intervals along specific paths through space. She realized that space had an underlying quantum structure that no one had ever mapped. It is like rivers, she explained to the Council observers. Rivers of quantum energy flowing through space. If we map these rivers, we can use them. Travel becomes easier, not harder. The quantum fold drive is not just possible, it is natural. The crisis had become a discovery. Instead of proving the technology was dangerous, the storm proved it was robust. Even under extreme conditions, the drive worked. Even when surprised by the unexpected, the human crew adapted and succeeded. Test 4 was 100 light-years across multiple sectors. This jump would take Prometheus through regions near several Council member homeworlds. If it worked, it would prove humans could reach any planet in the galaxy within hours. The test was perfect. Not a single problem, not one error. Prometheus jumped across 100 light-years as easily as crossing a room. Council observers from younger species began openly praising human achievement. Even some of the older species admitted they were impressed, but not all Velkari were ready to accept human success. The night before the final test, someone tried to sabotage Prometheus. They planted a device that would have destroyed the quantum drive during the jump. It was discovered by accident. An alien observer, a young scientist from a species friendly to humans, noticed something wrong during a routine inspection. She reported it immediately. Investigation revealed the device was of Velkari design. The scandal rocked the Council. Not all Velkari supported the sabotage, but hardliners within their government had ordered it. Zenvala was removed from his position. The Velkari Empire's credibility suffered. Other species began to question whether the Velkari had been honest about quantum fold dangers. Test 5 was rescheduled. This time, different observers monitored the mission. The target was ambitious, 500 light-years to the galactic rim and back, further than any ship had ever traveled. Beyond all mapped space, every species in the galaxy watched. This was the moment. If Prometheus succeeded, humanity would prove the Velkari wrong. If they failed, 10,000 years of conventional wisdom would be vindicated. Captain Song sat in her command chair. Her crew was ready. The ship was ready, but she took a moment to look at each person on the bridge. Whatever happened, she said, you have all shown the galaxy what humans can do. You have shown courage, intelligence, and determination. I am honored to serve with you, Jiwoo smiled. Let us show them one more time, Captain. Captain Song nodded. She initiated the fold sequence. The drive charged. Space began to fold, and Prometheus vanished. For 10 seconds, the galaxy held its breath. Then Prometheus reappeared. 500 light-years away, at the edge of known space where no ship had ever been. Captain Song's voice came through the monitors, calm and professional. Jump successful. All systems normal. Beginning return sequence. The return jump was just as perfect. Prometheus appeared exactly where it started, with not a single error, not one system failure. The impossible had been done, not once but twice. 1,000 light-years traveled in minutes. The galaxy erupted in celebration. Young species cheered. Neutral species applauded. Even some Velkari admitted that humanity had achieved something remarkable. On Prometheus, the crew embraced each other. Jiwoo felt tears running down her face. They had done it. Against all odds. Against the most powerful species in the galaxy. Against 10,000 years of accepted truth. They had proven the impossible was possible. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The room was too quiet. Jiwoo Park stood at the front of the Earth Science Council chamber, her hands shaking slightly as she held her tablet. She had practiced this presentation 100 times. She knew every word, every number, every graph. But now, looking at the faces of the council members, she felt her confidence draining away. The chairman, Dr. Robert Chen, looked down at her from his high seat. He was a tall man with gray hair and cold eyes. He had studied under the Velkari, the oldest and most powerful alien race in the galaxy. Everyone knew he thought human scientists were children playing with toys they did not understand. Dr. Park, he said slowly, you are asking us to believe that you can break the laws of physics, laws that every civilization in the galaxy accepts as truth, laws that the Velkari proved 10,000 years ago. Jiwoo took a deep breath. I am not asking you to believe anything, Chairman. I am showing you evidence. The quantum fluctuations we detected are real. They show that space can be folded in ways the current theories do not explain. Another council member laughed. It was a harsh, mocking sound. Others joined in. Jiwoo felt her face getting hot. She wanted to run from the room, but she forced herself to stand still. "Young lady," said another member, an older woman with sharp features, "do you know how many scientists have claimed to find a way around the light speed barrier? Hundreds, thousands, all of them were wrong. What makes you think you are different?" "Because I have data," Jiwoo said firmly. She pressed a button on her tablet. The large screen behind her lit up with graphs and equations. These readings show energy patterns in quantum foam, patterns that should not exist according to Valkyrie physics. If we can amplify these patterns, we can create a fold in space itself. The chairman stood up. "Enough. This council will not waste time on fantasies. The Valkyrie have explained why faster-than-light travel without wormholes is impossible. It violates causality. It would tear apart the fabric of space. Your proposal is denied, Dr. Park. You will stop this research immediately." Jiwoo felt like she had been hit in the stomach. She looked around the room. Every face showed the same expression. They thought she was a fool. They thought she was wasting their time. Not one person believed her. She gathered her tablet and walked out of the chamber. Her footsteps echoed in the empty hallway. She had been so sure. The data was real. The patterns existed, but no one would listen. Outside the building, Jiwoo sat on a bench and put her head in her hands. The sun was setting over the city. Ships flew overhead, heading to the spaceport. Every one of those ships depended on wormholes to travel between stars. Wormholes that aliens controlled. Wormholes that aliens charged humans huge amounts of money to use. They really did not like your presentation. Jiwoo looked up. A man in a military uniform stood nearby. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with kind eyes and a serious face. She recognized him. "Commander Tai-Min Han, one of the best pilots in the Earth Space Force. You were there?" Jiwoo asked in the back. "I wanted to hear what you had to say." He sat down next to her. "I lost my brother 5 years ago. His transport was going through a wormhole when it destabilized. 200 people died. The Valkyrie said it was just bad luck. But I have always wondered if they really know as much as they claim." Jiwoo looked at him carefully. "You believe me?" "I believe your data is real. I believe you found something. Whether it can lead to a new type of engine, I do not know, but I think you deserve a chance to find out." He pulled out a card and handed it to her. "There are people who think the same way I do. Business leaders who are tired of paying aliens for every trip between stars. Military commanders who worry about what happens if someone blocks the wormholes. Call this number. They have money. They want to help." 3 months later, Jiwoo stood in a different kind of laboratory. This one was on the moon, hidden inside an old mining complex. It was cold and the walls were rough rock, but the equipment was new and expensive. Around her, 20 scientists worked at their stations. At the center of the room was their experiment, a quantum field generator barely bigger than a car engine. Subin Lee, her young assistant, walked over with a tablet. Subin was only 29, but already one of the best mathematicians Jiwoo had ever met. She was quiet and careful, the kind of person who checked her work 3 times before showing it to anyone. "The calculations are ready," Subin said softly. "If the theory is correct, we should see a measurable fold when we activate the generator." "And if the theory is wrong?" Jiwoo asked. Subin smiled slightly. "Then nothing happens and we go back to the equations." Jiwoo looked around at her team. They had been working for months in secret. If the government found out, they would shut everything down. If the Valkyrie found out, there would be serious trouble. But every person in this room believed that the impossible might be possible. "Start the sequence," Jiwoo said. The generator hummed to life. Energy readings on the screens began to climb. Jiwoo watched the numbers carefully. Her heart was pounding. This was the moment. Either they would prove the Valkyrie wrong, or they would prove themselves fools. The numbers hit the target range. For exactly 0.3 of a second, space folded. It was tiny, barely measurable, but every instrument in the room detected it. A test probe vanished and reappeared 3 light minutes away, without traveling through the space in between. The room exploded with cheers. Scientists hugged each other. Some were crying. Subin was grinning so wide her face hurt. Jiwoo just stood there staring at the screens, hardly believing what she was seeing. They had done it. They had folded space. The impossible was possible. But then the alarm started ringing. Red lights flashed on every console. The energy signature from their test was massive, much bigger than they had expected. And somewhere in orbit, Velkari observers were watching Earth with instruments far more advanced than anything humans had. Commander Han rushed into the room. His face was pale. They saw it, he said. The Velkari detected the energy spike. They are demanding an explanation. We have maybe 24 hours before they send inspectors to Earth. Jiwoo felt her moment of joy turn to ice. They had proven the theory worked. But now the most powerful civilization in the galaxy knew that humans were doing research they had been told not to do. Research that the Velkari had banned for reasons they never fully explained. The real test was just beginning. It was not enough to prove something was possible. Now they had to prove they had the right to pursue it, even when ancient powers said they should not. Jiwoo looked at her team. Copy all the data. Make backups. Hide them in 3 different locations. No matter what happens next, this discovery does not die with us. As her team rushed to secure their work, Jiwoo walked to the window and looked out at the Earth hanging in the black sky. Somewhere up there, alien ships were already moving. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity did not accept the word impossible. Not anymore.